Okay, I want to just give you a quick tutorial on using some of the tools to complete the Lab 5, which is encryption. So the first tool I want to show you is PuTTY. So PuTTY is how we connect to DUNX1 from a Windows machine. If you have a Mac, you won't need to download anything like PuTTY. It's already an available command. The SSH command works natively for a Mac. But if you're not using a Mac, then you have to install PuTTY, which it's not really an install, it's just a little utility you download from the web. So just do a search for PuTTY. You'll find it. The website looks a little shady, but I promise it's a legit application. When you install PuTTY or when you run PuTTY, you can put in the host name and the port number and just click open, and it'll connect directly to that node. You can also save it to use it later. So you can see here I've saved my connection to DUNX1. So the address is dunx1.irt.drexel.edu on port 22. And this is a Unix command shell. So this is a Unix server at Drexel that you're connecting to that you can run commands on. And one of the commands that's available on that DUNX1 server is going to be all the OpenSSL commands that you need for Lab 5, for Practical Assignment 5, which deals with encryption. So once you put in this connection information, you just click open. You'll get a black screen that comes up, and you can log in. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And once you're connected, now your connection, once you connect, your banner might look a little different than mine. Your prompt might look a little different. I've just changed mine over the years. If you want to make the text a little bit bigger, it's a little bit small by default. So if you click on Change Settings, you can modify all that stuff. So I'll go into Appearance. In my case, I'm going to bump that. Just because of the video, it might be a little bit easier for you to see it. I'll make it bold, and I'll bump the size up to 14. There we go. So that's a little bit easier to see in the video now. So when you log in, if you type the PWD, it'll show you where you currently are in the directory structure. So I'm in a folder called BCG28, which is my home directory on DUNX1. If you type ls, you can see all the files. It's just like the dir command if you're using Windows, but in Linux it's ls. Notice when I typed ls, it all went past the screen too fast, so I can't see everything. So if you do ls and then pipe less, you can scroll up and down through the output and then hit Q to quit when you're done looking at the output. So I've got a lot of files here, and it's just to stay organized, I'm going to create a folder for the assignment. So to create a folder, so again, I'm in my home directory. To create a folder, I'm going to type mkdir, it stands for make directory, and I'm going to call it PA5. So now, if I type the ls command, I should see that PA5 folder, and here it is right here. So now I can change directory into PA-5 or PA5, so I'm going to type cd PA5. And now I'm inside that directory. There's the contents of the directory. There's nothing there yet. I haven't created any files yet, but I'm inside that directory. So now any of the commands that I run are going to output whatever the default, unless I put a full path, it's going to output that stuff to that path. So now that I'm in that directory, let me run the first command. So from the instructions, the first command is to output the key file. So we're going to use OpenSSL to output a key file which is going to contain both a public and a private key. That's what the key.pem file is. It has both the public and private key inside. And we're going to use that file to extract the public and private key, or generate our key pair. If you remember, with asynchronous encryption, we need to have both a public key and a private key. Our first step in the lab is to generate, we're going to try to create a password in a file, and we're going to exchange that password securely by using public key encryption, which we talked about in the lecture. So my next set of commands is just to take a look at the contents of that file. And by the way, if I want to see if that file got created, I can use the ls command. Oops. There we go, the ls command. You can see a generated key.pem. And if you run this command from the, oh wait, that's the wrong command. There's the correct command. So if you run this command, it'll show you the contents of that file. Once again, it goes a little bit too fast for you to see the contents. I forgot this has to be a dash. it goes a little bit too fast to see all the contents. So once again, I can use the pipe, which by the way is it's shift and then the button above your enter key typically, and then less. So now I can scroll up and down through that output, hit Q when I'm done. But now we want to extract a private key. So to extract the private key, I'm going to highlight, or I'm going to rather type the command. So this is going to extract the encrypted private key. So it's going to be encrypted, right? So it's going to take that private key, it's going to generate that private key from the key.pem file. But we want to encrypt it that way if somebody gets that file, they wouldn't be able to see that key. So I'm just going to put password for the passphrase. So now I've created that key file. If I look at the contents of my directory, now I've got the inc-key.pem file, and that file is the encrypted key, the private key. So now I'm going to output the public key. So we have a private key now. Now we're going to use OpenSSL to generate our public key. And again, it's going to do so from that key.pem file. All right, so now there's my public key, my private key, and the key.pem file that we generated in the beginning. So I've got my private key and my public key. Now I want to take that public key and give it to another student to use to encrypt a message that I'm going to then unencrypt. So just to keep it simple, I'm going to rename the pub.key. I'm not rename it, but I'm going to make a copy of it. So I'm going to type the cp command, and I'm going to type pub-key.pem, and I want to copy it to a file using my username so everybody knows who the key belongs to. And once I do that, now I've got my version of that key. Now the problem is you have to get that key file, that public key. We have to get that to other students on Blackboard in the discussion threads. So you have to download it from DUNX1. The easiest way to download is you come over here to, now this is a free program called FileZilla. And with FileZilla, you can connect to DUNX1 using FTP. So if you go into your site manager in FileZilla, you can see I set up DUNX1 with SFTP. I put in my username and password for DUNX1. You click connect. It'll connect, and then I can go in here and find my PA-5 folder, and there's the key file that I want. So if I want to download that, I'm just going to go to a folder here. So once I'm inside a folder over here, I can just right-click and download that file, and you'll see it appears over here. And I can work with that file. So moving ahead to the next instruction, the next thing we have to do is generate a password file. So this is going to be our file that contains the password that we are going to provide to another student. We're going to encrypt for another student. So we have to encrypt this file to give it to another student. So to do that, we're going to run the, well, first we have to create the file. And there's a couple different ways you can create a file. The sort of the old school Unix way to do it is the vi command. So you type vi and the name of the file. So I'm going to call this my Brian password .txt. You don't have to have the .txt, but then everybody knows it's a text file. So that opens the vi command, and I can hit I for insert mode, type something, then I can hit escape, and then the colon, W for write, Q for quit, bang for do it right now, exit, and if I do the ls command, you can see it created that file. And if I want to look at the output of that file without having to run vi again, I can just type cat brianpassword.txt, and there's the contents of the file. So that's the old school Unix way to do it. Another way you could do this, I'm going to bring up another utility. So I'll show you two other ways you could do it. So one other way you could do it is just to open up a utility in Windows like Notepad. So here's Notepad, which is just a very simple text editor. I'll type this is a text file. And I'm going to save this. Yeah, this is all, just basic stuff here, but so if I save that text file, now, just like before, if I come over here, I'm going to refresh this. There's my text file. I want to get it up here. So I just double click on it and it transfers it up to DUNX1. And now if I run the ls command, you can see that file, textfile.txt. It's there. If you want to delete it, you just type rm to delete and then the name of the file and it'll be gone. So now the file has been deleted. So then one other way you can do this, so one other way you can work with files, there is a text editor called Notepad++, which is a free download. This program is the cat's pajamas. You can use it for all kinds of stuff. But one of the cool things about Notepad++, it's sort of like Notepad, where it's just a plain text editor, but it's got a lot of features. It has a lot of things that you can use in a lot of other classes, so I highly recommend using it if you've never used it before. At least give it a try. But one of the cool things it has is NPP-FTP plugin. So this is a plugin that connects Notepad++ directly to FTP. So if I go in here and show the NPP-FTP window, if you click the little settings icon, you can create a profile for DUNX1, which you can see I've done here. I've created a profile. And again, this is the exact same settings that you would have done in FileZilla. It's the same protocol. Now I can connect to DUNX1, and it shows me my files, just like I did before. But now, if I click on a file, it just opens it right up in the text editor. And I can make a change, and I can save it. And then you can see this turns blue because I saved it. And now if I go back to DUNX1, you can see that it actually made that change. So I'm going to output the contents of that file. I thought I changed that one. Let's see. Oh, maybe I didn't. Let's try it again. Well, this is not working because somehow it cached, I think there's a bug in here, it cached the uppercase version of my PA5 folder, which is important to note that the case matters in Unix, unlike Windows where it doesn't matter what case you use. In Linux and Unix, it definitely matters. But I can assure you that 99.9% of the time this works. I'll open up a different file in here. So for example, I'll open up this log.txt file, which has a bunch of stuff in it. I'll just delete it and type blah and save it. And now if I look at the contents of that file, you can see it actually saved. It says succeeded down here in the log. And if I go up here and type cat log.txt, it output the contents, and you can see it's right here. It says blah. There's no carriage return, so it didn't carriage return the prompt on the end. And up here, I put .. because that tells it to go up one directory to get that file. By the way, that's how you would move directories. If I type cd space .. it takes me back up a directory, and I can go back into PA5. All right, so I walked you through basically using the DUNX1 environment and using FileZilla or Notepad++ to work with those files on DUNX1. So now you should have enough to finish the rest of the commands and the rest of the labs in PA 5-11, 12, and 13. So you're just going to continue to run these commands. It might ask you to create files. You might have to download those files to put them up on Blackboard in the discussion threads and so forth. But it should be pretty straightforward now that you've seen these tools. So if you have any questions about these tools, let me know. Thank you.